Have you ever felt like your heart was given a divine promise, only to watch everything unfold in a way that breaks you? Today, the angels want to speak to the part of your soul that's been quietly holding on. The part that still believes in miracles, even after disappointment. Because this love, yes, this love, was blessed by God. From the very beginning. And yet, what's happening now? It's not what was meant to be. At least, not like this. The person who came into your life didn't arrive by accident. Heaven orchestrated every detail. The connection, the timing, the way your heart responded as if it recognized a soul it had loved for lifetimes. From the very first glance, you knew. You didn't just meet them, you remembered them. And deep inside, something whispered, "This is sacred." But sacred doesn't mean easy. There is a plan. A divine alignment. And sometimes, the human heart resists what the soul already knows. That's what's happening here. This person who was meant to be a vessel of love in your life is now acting in ways that seem to contradict everything they once felt. Everything they once promised. And it hurts. But dear soul, the angels want you to understand something deeper. This detour, this confusion, is not a sign that the love wasn't real. It's a reflection of inner conflict. This person, even with all their love, wasn't ready for the light you brought. You didn't just touch their heart, you exposed the parts of them they've kept hidden from even themselves. You awakened something ancient in them. Something they weren't prepared to face. You see, your presence didn't just stir romance, it ignited transformation. And for a heart that's been wounded, for a soul that's been carrying silent pain, love can feel terrifying. That's why right now, everything feels turned upside down. That's why they pull away, say things that don't match their eyes, and act distant even when their energy clings to yours like a silent prayer. But the truth, as the angels show me, is this: they still feel everything. More than they allow themselves to admit. And more than ever, they're being pushed to confront what this love truly means. Not just for you, but for the future they've never dared to imagine. You were sent into their life to break the pattern. To show them that not all love ends in betrayal. That not all connections require self-sacrifice or pain. That it's possible to be seen fully, and still be loved entirely. But this healing comes at a cost. And for them, that cost is facing their fears, their past, and the belief that they don't deserve a love like yours. They do. But until they believe that for themselves, the path will feel uncertain. So if you're questioning what's happening, if you're doubting your intuition, or feeling abandoned by something that once felt so divine, hold on. The angels are asking you not to mistake delay for denial. This person is in a battle between the old self and the one that longs to rise. And you, dear soul, are the mirror showing them who they could be, if they choose love over fear. This moment, as painful as it feels, is not the end. It's the recalibration. It's the soul's way of stripping away illusions, so only the truth can remain. And here's something important the angels want you to remember. God doesn't bless a love just to watch it fall apart. If the blessing was real, and you know it was, then the unfolding still has purpose. Even now. Even in this silence. Even in this pause. But that doesn't mean you have to wait. This isn't about putting your life on hold. It's about choosing to stay aligned with what you know is true, even if the other person hasn't caught up yet. Now breathe. Let your heart feel what it needs to feel. The ache, the longing, the questions. It's all part of the sacred undoing that comes before divine rebuilding. And at the perfect moment, when all seems still, they will return. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. Not because you chased them. Not because you waited. But because you stood in your truth. In your light. In your love. And that love? It called them home. So just stop for a second. Really, just stop. Take a breath and notice how you feel right now. There's this pressure we put on ourselves to always know. To always understand what's happening. To tie things up in perfect explanations. But some things? They don't fit into neat little answers. And this, what you've been feeling, what's been unfolding between you and this person, it's not something that logic can explain. Because if it could, it wouldn't have shaken you like this. You probably haven't told anyone just how much it's been weighing on you. Maybe it's not something you can even describe fully. But it's there. And even when you're busy, even when you're distracted, it lingers. That feeling that something about all of this was real. Something about them still matters. Even now. And maybe you've tried to let it go. More than once. Maybe you've convinced yourself you were done. That you were tired of waiting. Tired of wondering. Tired of feeling like you were the only one holding on to something invisible. But if you're being honest with yourself, really honest, you know you're not done. Not emotionally. Not energetically. Not spiritually. Because this connection didn't come into your life to disappear without a trace. And no matter how they acted, no matter how normal they've been trying to appear, you felt something shift when you were with them. You felt safe. You felt seen. You felt like you didn't have to explain every little piece of yourself just to be understood. And now you're left trying to make sense of why it faded. Or why they pulled away. Or why they're quiet now. But silence doesn't mean indifference. Distance doesn't mean detachment. Sometimes people need space not because they don't care, but because they do, and they don't know what to do with those feelings. So maybe the question isn't why did they leave? Maybe the question is what did I awaken in them that made them realize they weren't ready for this? You've been blaming yourself, questioning what you said, what you did, and what you could have done differently. But what if you didn't do anything wrong? What if just being who you are, open, warm, sincere, was more than they were used to? What if they couldn't believe that someone like you really meant it? That you weren't going to leave like the others did? That you weren't playing a game? And that scared them more than they knew how to handle. So they backed off. Maybe slowly. Maybe abruptly. But either way, it left you here, feeling like something that felt like love slipped through your fingers. But here's something you haven't heard enough. You didn't lose anything. You are the something they're still trying to process. You're the thing they think about when they lie awake. You're the memory that doesn't fade with time. They may be silent, but inside them, it's not quiet. There's guilt. There's longing. There's confusion. There's a part of them that wants to come back, but doesn't know if you'd still be there. And that's where you are now, in this space of wondering, but also slowly remembering your own worth again. You don't need to beg for clarity. You don't need to chase closure. What you need is to remember who you were before all the questions started. You loved deeply. Genuinely. You showed up with a full heart, not a guarded one. And even if that scared them off, even if they didn't match your depth, you did what most people can't do. You stayed true to yourself. That's powerful. That's rare. That's something the world needs more of. So say this with me, not out loud if you don't want to, just quietly in your heart. I'm ready to receive what's truly meant for me. Say it again. Not because it's a magic spell, but because the moment you say it, you let go of what was never yours to carry alone. And if you felt a little something stir while reading this, like maybe your chest got heavy or your eyes welled up, it's because something inside you remembers what it's like to believe in love that doesn't disappear. That kind of love isn't a fantasy. It's real. It's waiting. And it begins the moment you decide not to abandon yourself in the name of someone else's confusion. If this still lives in you, it means something. If you've made it this far in the message, it's because some part of you isn't done believing. And that's okay. You're allowed to still care. You're allowed to still want clarity. You're allowed to not have it all figured out yet. You're human. And your heart? It's still trying to find its place in all of this. But you're not broken. You're just in a moment that hasn't reached its full meaning yet. Let it play out. Let yourself breathe. And when it's time, when your heart feels safe again to open, you'll know. Until then, don't apologize for feeling everything. Don't hide the parts of you that still hope. They're not weakness. They're your truth. And truth, no matter how long it takes, always finds a way to be seen. You may not see it clearly yet, but your heart? It already made its choice. It happened quietly, maybe even before things started feeling so confusing. Before the weird distance. Before the quiet turned louder than any conversation. You loved, really loved, not because it was easy, and definitely not because it felt logical. You just felt it. Deep down. You knew there was something real, something that mattered more than anything else going on. And now, here you are. Caught in this space where everything feels different, uncertain, off. And yet, you're still holding on to that feeling. That memory. That connection. Without needing anyone to explain it or label it. Because somewhere deep inside, it still makes sense to you, even if it doesn't on the outside. But here's where it gets complicated. What you're not seeing, what you're not supposed to see just yet, is what's going on with them. The person who used to look at you with eyes full of meaning now barely makes eye contact. They seem fine. Like they've moved on. Like they've figured things out. But they haven't. They're not okay. And what's worse, they don't know how to express it. Maybe they've convinced themselves they're doing the right thing by stepping back. Maybe they've told themselves that pulling away is safer. That love like this shouldn't be so overwhelming. That maybe this was all just too much. But none of that is true. Not really. Not beneath the surface. They still think about you. More often than you realize. Not in passing. Not casually. But in those quiet moments when no one's around. When they should be sleeping but their mind won't rest. That's when you show up. That's when they remember how your voice made them feel understood. How just being near you felt like a kind of peace they weren't accustomed to. They think about the way you listened. They wonder what they'd say now, if given the chance. They hear your words again, the ones you spoke when things were good, before fear got in the way. But here's the thing. While you're here trying to make sense of it all, they're over there trying not to feel everything at once. They don't say it. They don't show it. But it's there. It's in the way they avoid places you used to go together. It's in how they seem distracted when certain songs come on. It's in the fact that no one else really connects with them the way you did. They're not over it. Not even close. And I know, it's hard to believe when the silence feels so permanent. When the last thing they said didn't match the way they once looked at you. When you're the one still feeling everything while they pretend not to care. But pretending doesn't mean forgetting. It just means they're still scared. Scared of how real it felt. Scared of losing themselves in something they weren't ready for. Scared of needing someone as much as they needed you. And maybe you've wondered if you were wrong. If you imagined it. If you gave too much and read too deeply into something that wasn't mutual. But you didn't. You saw the truth, even if they're not ready to admit it yet. You saw their soul, not just their words. You felt their energy, even when their actions started to pull away. And that's not something you can fake. That kind of connection doesn't just vanish. So now the question is, what do you do with all of this? You can't go back and make them ready. You can't force the timing to be perfect. You can't make someone choose you if they're still afraid of choosing themselves. But you can choose to keep standing in your truth. You can choose to stop questioning your worth based on someone else's fear. You can choose to believe what your heart already knows, even if your mind is tired of trying to figure it out. You didn't imagine this. You didn't love wrong. And you don't need to shrink just because someone else wasn't prepared for your light. If you're still here, still reading, still feeling all of this in your chest, it's because part of you needed this reminder. You're not crazy. You're not alone in this. What you shared with them mattered. And no matter how much time passes, no matter how far they try to run from it, it still does. So maybe you don't get closure in the way you wanted. Maybe they don't say all the things you hoped they would. Maybe you never hear the full truth from their lips. But that doesn't make what you had any less real. And that doesn't make you any less worthy of love that lasts. So take a breath. Not because it fixes everything, but because you deserve to take up space in this story. Because your heart deserves rest, not more reasons to feel inadequate. And maybe, just maybe, when they're done pretending, when they finally stop running, when they let themselves remember without fear, they'll find their way back to you. But until then, you keep choosing yourself. You keep healing, not to forget them, but to remember who you are without needing anyone else to validate it. You don't have to let go of the love. You just have to let go of the parts that continue to hurt you. And that's how you start anew, still soft, still open, still ready. Because love doesn't always leave the way people do. Sometimes it lingers in the quiet, waiting for the right moment to transform into something new. And if your heart is still open, if you're still willing to believe in what you felt, then trust that somehow, in a way that can't be rushed, what's meant for you will return. Or maybe, it already is. They are not at peace. Because what they feel for you refuses to be buried. And yet, they still hesitate. They convince themselves it's too complicated. That the timing is off. That maybe it was just an illusion. But the universe knows better. And so do you. Because every time you try to move on, every time you say, "That's it, I'm letting go," something pulls you back. Not to the pain, but to the truth. The truth that what you felt was real. That what you shared was sacred. That it's not over. That's not obsession. That's not weakness. That's resonance. You and this person are still connected. And while it's tempting to doubt yourself, to question whether you imagine the depth, the universe is asking you to trust the feeling more than the form. To trust what your soul felt before fear clouded your vision. Because this isn't just about romantic love. This is about soul evolution. You were chosen for each other's growth. And yes, sometimes that growth includes separation. But separation isn't always punishment. Sometimes it's preparation. And that's what's happening right now. This temporary unraveling? It's sacred. It's a reordering. A stripping away of everything false, so only the purest parts can meet again. And when they do, everything will change. Because when someone finally sees themselves through the eyes of the one who never gave up on their soul, healing begins. Walls fall. Hearts open. And love, the kind that survives storms, takes its rightful place. Now, you may be asking, but how do I move through this? How do I keep holding space for something I can't see clearly anymore? The angels whisper, one breath at a time. One moment of trust followed by another. Lean into your intuition. Let your heart speak louder than your fear. And above all, stay connected to your light. You see, when this person left or pulled away, they didn't take your light with them. That belongs to you. And it's that light, that divine frequency you hold, that's guiding them back. Not to the past, but to a future they're finally brave enough to consider. And here's what the angels just showed me. When this person returns, they won't be the same. Because this pause, this unraveling, it's awakening them. It's reshaping their understanding of what it means to love, to choose, to stay. And while you may not recognize it yet, you're evolving too. You're becoming someone who no longer begs for crumbs of affection. You're becoming someone who knows their worth, who honors their heart, who doesn't shrink to fit someone else's fear. And it's from that place, from that empowered knowing, that love will find its way back to you. Stronger, purer, and rooted in truth. So now, take a breath. You've come so far. Let the tears fall if they need to. Let your heart break open, not apart. Because sometimes the breaking is the beginning. And if these words are reaching you right where you are, if your heart is racing, your soul is stirred, and your eyes are welling up, I want to invite you once again to subscribe. Not because you need one more video, but because this space, it was created for hearts like yours. For women who love deeply. For souls who crave more than just surface-level promises. For you. You're not alone in this. And the next chapter is closer than you think. Let's dive deeper.